G'day guys, welcome back to the Devon Too Good investing channel. Today in this video I'll be discussing why Micron will never be unprofitable again, and I'll provide 3 reasons why I believe this will be true. Also, we'll be looking into the history of the memory chip industry and why the memory chip industry looks very different today compared to, let's say, 10 or 20 years ago. So guys, before I get into this video, make sure you like and make sure you subscribe to my channel. So the chart I have in front of you right here is Micron Technology's diluted EPS tracking back over the last 10 years. And what should strike you immediately is that historically Micron has gone through big boom and bust cycles where they'll be very profitable and then all of a sudden they'll become unprofitable and then profitable again, and then unprofitable once more, and then they'll go through a big run up and another bust cycle. But you'll notice in the last sort of downturn within the memory chip industry, Micron actually stayed profitable during these times. So let's get into the 3 reasons why I think this trend will continue. And by this trend continuing, I mean that Micron will not come back under 0 for their EPS ever again. The first reason is the consolidation of competitors. So back in the earlier days of the memory chip industry, there were many competitors, and now the industry has been reduced down to just a few competitors, with that being Micron, SK, and Samsung. So what happened was, during these big boom and bust cycles that we saw in the previous graph, many of these competitors went bankrupt. So today there's only 4 DRAM players remaining and only 5 NAND players remaining. And of this, only one Western-based DRAM manufacturer remains, and that company is Micron. And because of this, Micron is a crucial asset to the United States and the Western world in general. Pretty much, if you want chips that aren't made from South Korea in the DRAM space, you have no choice but to use Micron. And because of this, that has created a big competitive advantage. So these advantages include barriers to entry. So it's very hard now that these big players have consolidated in the market, because foundries cost at least $5 billion to make and ramp to scale, and it takes a few years to construct these fabs at the same time. Micron also has a lot of IP, which stacks on top of each other, which they've built over many decades, and competitors simply just can't get access to this IP. And in a previous video, I also talked about how China are putting a lot of money into the semiconductor industry. However, there's a bunch of sanctions on certain suppliers that supply Micron that say, hey, if you supply these Chinese manufacturers, you will be banned from selling your products to the US. And because of this, many of the crucial materials that China will need to build these memory chips, it means they just simply can't compete on technology. So the second reason why is because technology within the memory chip space is closer to its limits. So back in the 2000s and even early sort of 2010s, there were many competitors, and DRAM technology was developing very quickly. And what would happen is that new DRAM chips would be developed almost every quarter, meaning that these old chips would quickly become redundant. And as a result, this led to oversupply, which then caused the DRAM prices to collapse, and it caused DRAM manufacturers to become unprofitable. However, these days, it's a lot different, because now the technology is approaching its limits. Technology is developing at a slower pace, and these chips don't necessarily become outdated in one iteration. For example, if we take Apple's iPhone, so if we compare the leap in technology from the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 2, this leap was quite significant. Whereas if you take the iPhone 12 and compare the leap in technology to the iPhone 13, you might say, well, hey, yeah, the iPhone 13 is a little bit better. However, the iPhone 12 is still a viable option. The same goes with DRAM, alright? Same goes with DRAM, whatever you want to call it. Back then, every quarter, these companies would come out with a new chip. And if they were stuck with inventory with their old chip, their inventory, they pretty much had to sell it at bargain basement prices because the technology was no longer up to scratch and no one wanted to purchase it. However, these days, technology grows slower. That means inventory is easier to control. You're not going to have a competitor all of a sudden come out with vastly better technology. And yeah, things are just more stable in general in terms of the pace of innovation. And yeah, technology, obviously these big companies have got to invest R&D into it. However, it is the second reason why I believe Micron will never be unprofitable. The third reason why is supply side discipline by the main players in the memory chip space. So this industry is an oligopoly and supply can be controlled by the three main players. So over time, through all these booms and bust cycles, and once the industry got consolidated into three main players, SK, Samsung, and Micron, they decided, hey, why are we still oversupplying the market? We don't need to do it because there's only three of us and we can all eat at the table. So it's in each player's best interest to not oversupply the market. There's no point undercutting each other in terms of pricing, as this creates a lose-lose situation, as DRAM is a commodity and essentially all these companies are selling the same products. So they don't want to tank the price. They want to exercise supply side discipline so that they do not crash the price of DRAM. And let's say, for instance, there was no supply side discipline. Let's say, these companies built new foundries and started to oversupply the market. Well, this would crash the DRAM price. But even if the market is oversupplied, I would argue that Micron would still stay profitable. Because if we go back to the starting chart here, we can see that exact thing happened in 2019. The market got oversupplied. And what happened? Micron stayed profitable. And I can tell you right now that demand is a hell of a lot stronger in 2022 for memory chip products as it was in 2019. The demand is growing in DRAM at high teens growth rates per year, and that's expected to go out well into the future. And NAND products, the demand for that is expected to grow at roughly 30% per year going out into the future. So as this demand grows, if supply stays the same, simple economics right here, the price of DRAM's gonna increase. However, these companies will still invest into increasing their supply because they've got to meet the needs of the market. However, they're going to do it in a more controlled, sustainable, and reasonable way. And that's pretty much my three reasons. Just to recap, first reason was the consolidation of competitors. The second one was technology is closer to its limits. And the third one is supply side discipline. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.